World cinema history is made up of many great partnerships between directors and actors. John Ford and John Wayne, Akira Kurosawa and Toshiro Mifune, Ingmar Bergman and Max von Sydow. One such partnership from Germany is the one between director Werner Herzog and actor Klaus Kinski. Through their 15-year relationship from 1972 to 1987, Herzog and Kinski created 5 celebrated films of German cinema. As fruitful as that creative partnership was, it was also a turbulent relationship which consisted of verbal bouts and even violence. Raised in Berlin, Kinski served for German forces in World War II before being captured by Allied forces in Holland in 1944. For over a year, Kinski was held as a prisoner of war in Essex. It was here that he first took up performing, taking part in in-prison shows with fellow POWs. Once returned to Germany, Kinski found regular work in the theater. From the beginning, he had a reputation for neurotic, angry behavior that got him fired from several theater companies. Kinski even served time in a psychiatric clinic in 1950. His behavior was reflected in his work. In his more than 100 film appearances, Kinski often played an emotionally or mentally unstable character. This earned him a reputation as one of Germany's most fascinating actors. A 13-year-old lad named Werner Herzog first met Kinski in 1955 when Kinski rented a room in the same boarding house as Herzog's parents. Herzog never forgot this strange and frightening neighbor.
Kinski hat sich hier in diesem Badezimmer in Tobsuchtsanfällen alles kurz und klein geschlagen.
Once he entered into the world of filmmaking, Herzog had Kinski in mind when he wrote Aguirre, The Wrath of God, the story of the mad conquistador from 16th century Spain traversing through South America.
Ich bin der Zorn Gottes. Wer sonst ist mit mir?
Both men hated the location shooting in the Amazon jungle. However, Herzog wanted the film to be as natural as possible and made his cast and crew work in difficult weather conditions, including several floods along the Amazon River. In turn, Kinski's temper was at its worst, such as the time he fired a Winchester rifle at noisy crew members. Despite such a troubled production, the film was a critical success and has since become a classic. Francis Ford Coppola cites it as his main inspiration for 1979's Apocalypse Now. It would be 7 years before Herzog took another chance with Kinski. In 1979, the team produced a remake of the horror classic Nosferatu, the Vampire. The tale of Count Dracula was perfect material for the abstract styles of Herzog and the mad acting of Kinski. Herzog is called F.W. Murnau's Silent Nosferatu from 1922, the greatest German film of all time, and he found it a daunting task to remake. Rather than trying to bring his own interpretation to the Dracula story, Herzog used the Murnau Silent as his blueprint. He even had Kinski's makeup directly modeled from Max Schreck's in the silent version. This was a daily 4-hour process which included uncomfortable prosthetics. Many thought Kinski would make the process a nightmare, and surprisingly, it was one of the few times that Kinski remained calm. He eventually formed a close relationship with his award-winning makeup artist Rico Kruk. Nosferatu the Vampire became one of Germany's biggest moneymakers in 1979 and ultimately the biggest commercial success of the Herzog and Kinski films. No sooner had they finished Nosferatu than Herzog and Kinski started working on Wojciech. Based on a play by George Buchner, the film tells the simple story of a soldier and his troubled relationships with family and superiors. This is the simplest of the Herzog and Kinski films, shot in only 18 days. Herzog deliberately began shooting immediately after Nosferatu because he wanted to show Kinski in a state of exhaustion, and it worked. Kinski gives an unusually subtle performance, well, at least for him.
Glaubt, dich hat jemand umgebracht?
Where Wojciech was the team's simplest film, their next project was perhaps their most epic. Fitzcarraldo was Herzog's telling of a Peruvian rubber farmer who dreamed of building an opera house in the Amazon jungle. A true passion project for Herzog, he claimed, "I live my life or end my life with this film." Incredibly, Herzog shot an actual 300-ton steamship being hauled over a mountaintop entirely without special effects. Herzog was hesitant to cast Kinski, fearing he would be unable to tolerate the difficult locations and would clash with the film's many extras. And he was right to be worried.
Der Moment ist überhaupt gekommen, wo ich dir in die Fresse haue.
Was?
Diesmal schlag ich in die Fresse, darauf kannst du dich verlassen, du. Diesmal sitzt in dem Kostüm in deiner Scheißkarre in Holland.
Mach zu, mach zu.
Documentary filmmaker Les Blank visited the production when Mick Jagger was briefly involved. Though Jagger's role was ultimately scrapped, Blank captured some fascinating footage from the production and turned it into Burden of Dreams in 1982, released just 2 months after the release of Fitzcarraldo. This documentary shows firsthand the volatility between Herzog and Kinski.
Das war doch die Idee, das ist doch ein Idiot, das war so schnell nach.
Wir sind vorwärts geflogen und die Optik...
Das kann überhaupt nicht sein, ihr seid jetzt geflogen, da hätte ich schon
Schau mal her, Klaus, diese Optik hier. Diese Optik flog uns bis nach vorne raus.
Idee überhaupt. Hier!
Their final teaming came in 1987 with Cobra Verde. Based on a novel by Bruce Chatwin, it tells the story of a runaway bandit in 19th century South America.
Ich wollte, ich hätte deine Haut. Die Schwarzen glauben, der Teufel ist weiß.
It was on this film that Herzog reached his limit with Kinski. When Kinski's violent temper forced Herzog's favorite cinematographer, Thomas Mauch, to leave the production, he vowed never to work with Kinski again. Despite their troubled relationship, Werner Herzog always credited Klaus Kinski as a tremendously important source of inspiration. In 1999, Herzog summed up his relationship with the actor with the documentary My Best Fiend.
Why do you work together?
Because he's crazy. And so I am, that's why.
It's a perfect combination of the mad people.
It's a crucial look back at Herzog and Kinski's love-hate dynamic that resulted in some fascinating motion pictures, all here on FilmStruck.